Welcome everybody to another episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Reeves, and this is the show where we inform you about games. Join with me today, we have Alex Van Aken.
Hello.
Hello. I just learned that Alex is not your first name, but we'll leave that a mystery. And Blake Hester, how's it going?
Hello, Ben. Thanks for having me. Shouts out to Derek.
What up, Derek? You know who you are. And next in the lineup, a familiar face, but we haven't seen her in a while, Elise Favis of currently of Fanbyte Media, formerly of Washington Post launcher, formerly of Game Informer. How's it going?
Many formerlies, but yes, hi.
many formerlies. Formerly of Canada.
Yeah, that's true.
You were on MinMax like a week or two ago, and I was like, they got her before we did.
Oh, yeah. I've been kind of all over the place for the last little while. I was also on Normandy FM to talk about Mass Effect. I'm talking a lot about Mass Effect generally in many different places. So,
well, maybe we can talk about that more a little bit later.
Sure.
You know who MinMax didn't get? Gene Park of the Washington Post. How's it going?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me here.
Good.
Happy to see my former colleague Elise here too. Hi, Elise.
That's right.
Yay, Gene. Hi.
And you guys haven't talked in months, right?
Didn't see each other before we hit record.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, we never talk ever, basically.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to have you guys both on the show. Both of you worked what do you guys call it? Launcher? Is it like the video game arm of the Washington Post?
Yeah.
It's like the video game vertical of the Washington Post.
Vertical.
Yeah.
That's the fancy.
It's been around for what, a year and a half now.
Yeah, and you guys both helped launch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We launched Launcher, yeah.
What was that like? What was it like starting up a video game arm within a storied news outlet like the Washington Post? Did they understand what you guys were doing?
No.
I think it was for me since I guess I was working there before. Like I was really worried about whether people would hate us. So, so far people don't hate us, and I consider that a huge win. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think definitely one of the worries was, I knew we were all capable, like we were all very talented and knew what we were doing, but like there was definitely this worry of like, okay, we are a mainstream outlet, like is the core gaming audience gonna like take us seriously kind of thing. But I think we've done, they've done a pretty good job. We all did a pretty good job, I guess. Yeah, but that was definitely like a concern that came up every once in a while. And like it's interesting because Launcher is a lot smaller, I think, than a lot of people know about. It was Gene and I were the only writers, full-time writers for like the majority of it until Shannon came on like a few months ago. So in comparison to like gaming publications out there, and you all know just how fast-paced this industry is, like to have just two writers, like I think that was tough sometimes. So we're a lot smaller than people know, and I think that also just meant that we could kind of pick and choose, like be selective about what we wanted to do and what we wanted to cover, which I liked a lot. So that was definitely like a good part of that.
Yeah, when you hear the Washington Post, you hear like, oh, this multi-million-dollar organization backing games, and it's like, well, it's just really me and Elise and our editing team. So it's not like we have the full force of the Washington Post to cover gaming with us. There's other stuff that we have to cover too. So
Did you, if you wanted to, spend 6 months on a story like researching things, or is there sort of this?
Absolutely
pressure to do stuff.
I could not do that at all.
At all, because we were so small. Like we liked doing deep dives on stuff, but also we're like, it's just a different kind of pace too at a newspaper. Like there's just a faster metabolism for stories and stuff, and just things happen quickly. So you have to kind of roll with that too.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But you guys have done some good work. Anything stand out over the time that you guys have been there that you're like, I'm really proud of this story in particular?
I mean, for me, it was probably my piece about Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2. I got to sit down with the creators, like Neil Druckmann and Haley, and we just kind of like broke down and analyzed Ellie's evolution from the first game to the second game, and just like some of the major story beats and what they mean. So it was kind of like it was half analysis and half interview based, and it was probably, yeah, I would say the proudest thing that I've done over there.
Yeah, I liked how we really covered The Last of Us too. Like we really, especially you covered like 70-80% of it. That was a really nice sweep. I enjoyed writing about the metaverse and Fortnite. It was very serendipitous timing too, because I published that story like a week or two before the Epic Games announced their Travis Scott concert, which I didn't even know was happening. So I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! Thanks for actually proving my thesis harder." So that was a nice little like early pandemic like hit for me. So
yeah, that's awesome. And one of the things that I mean, obviously, like the site's games criticism is awesome. One of the things that I think is underrated too is whoever is doing the graphic design or branding of your social posts, they are they look so good. They always catch my eye. I'm like, oh, I got to read that. Like, it is something that that stands out in my brain about launch.
That's our design editor, Joe Moore. Wonderful guy, super talented, and yeah. I mean, I said earlier we don't have the full force of the Washington Post, but we did have Joe, which was from our Washington Post design team.
Yeah.
And
Great
we have
work.
John in our video team. So we did get some of the best from the rest of the organization, which was really nice. So
that's awesome.
Do you guys feel that as when you have the Washington Post on your business card, does that open a door in a different way, or do people treat you any differently in the gaming industry? Does Nintendo take notice of like, oh, finally we can get these interviews that we couldn't get before?
Elise, I want to hear your perspective on that, because like I've only ever been a gaming journalist for the Washington Post,
right.
So I have no like before and after. Like,
yes and no. It really depends which publisher, which developer you're talking to. I think you are right when you're bringing up Nintendo that they do like mainstream outlets a lot, but it really depended on what story I was doing. So a lot of the bigger games and the big names, like, yes, they want that Washington Post coverage and they want that name. And but it really depends on what the story is. Like, if it is something they feel is extremely specific to like a game and or a community in a game, like it's something just like very zeroed in that way. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I felt like, who was I talking to? I was talking to Disney for a story, for example, which, they've kind of gone in and out of making games and stuff. And now they're just mostly doing licensed stuff. But speaking to them for a story, they were just like, well, if you were still a Game Informer, maybe we would talk to you. But, if you were still at a gaming outlet, we would maybe talk to you about this.
Oh, fascinating.
It was,
weird.
It's, every once in a while, I would get that, where they were like, no, we want like a gaming outlet to cover this because the community will really understand if it's coming from a gaming outlet. So yes, very story dependent, but generally I think across the board, most of the time, yeah, it opened a lot of doors.
That's awesome. And now, Elise, obviously you're at Fanbyte Media. How's that transition been?
Yeah, man, it's good. It's interesting, I guess, right? Like I've been kind of all over the place at this point, going from a magazine to a newspaper and to like a website.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even think about like how like expansive your career has been in the last few years, actually.
Yeah, so the job is different than what I was doing at the Post, mostly because I'm switching from writing less and doing more editing now. So it's kind of a lot more behind the scenes stuff. I'm still going to do my features that I love, but I'm a features editor now. So I'm working with freelancers, and that's something I've wanted to do for a long time, is just, really kind of carve out a space for good writing and really like help writers, be the best they can be. And that I've really enjoyed at this point so far. And everyone at Fanbyte's great. They're like super funny and ridiculous and like goofy and also super smart. Just like a great blend of like, I don't know. They can be very serious when they want to be and very not serious when like when it's appropriate to.
The Fanbyte Twitter account
like
is
that.
a very good follow. I feel like that's
Yes.
Very good.
just want to put that out there for listeners.
Yeah, they're a good group of people. I like them a lot.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here, Gene and Elise. Really appreciate it. We normally kick off the show with what we call our playlist, where we just talk about games we've been digging and playing, or maybe just recently have seen. And yeah, Blake, do you want to show them how it's done? What have you been playing?
What's up? Not Mario Golf, but I did watch someone else play an hour of Mario Golf. Yeah. Stop me if you've heard this one before, Ben. Mario, he's on a whirlwind adventure across these greens. You can't stop this little man. He's having the time of his
He's
damn
finally
life.
getting outside of his house?
Yeah, he's having the time of his damn life. You know, you got all your favorite characters like Peach, Pearl, Bomb. No, I watched about I'm sorry, I'll stop. I watched about
It
an hour.
sounded
of this
right to
thing.
me.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I guess so. It was cool. Like they showed us, I feel like I couldn't tell if I was seeing everything in the game or the greatest hits. It all kind of went very quickly because I only had an hour and they showed me, you know, like here's standard
lot, I'm
golf,
sure.
here's speed golf, here's the
He
campaign.
kept asking, is this it? Is this the whole game? And they're like, no,
Yeah, I was
this
like,
is only an
what do you-
hour. The game is longer than this.
Yeah, they said it was longer than an hour. I was like, I'm out. I'm an adult. I don't have time for that. But it's really cool. I think like I was a fan of Mario Tennis to a point. I think that game was way harder than it needed to be. So I
It
kind of
was
fell
so
off it.
hard.
Yeah, like brutal at times. So I never like finished it. I'm unclear on the difficulty of this game, but it's in a similar vein of, I guess, other Mario Golf games, or more recently, you know, the new Mario Tennis, where it's like ostensibly a sports game. There's that element of it with all the wackiness of Mario. So like they did show us, here's just golf, and that's cool. Shouts out to all my golfers out there. But then they showed us speed golf, which is like, oh, this is obviously what people are going to play, you know? And it's rather than waiting your turn to tee off, all four golfers at once tee off, and then you run across the green trying to knock people out and using special moves to try to hinder them from getting to their golf ball. And once you get to your golf ball, you hit it again, and the cycle goes on
Oh
until
my
you
gosh.
score a point.
That sounds awesome.
Brilliant.
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. It sounds like Fall Guys and golf
Yeah.
mixed together.
All Guys is
Sounds
a
cool.
really good shout out there. Yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of has that vibe to it. It is chaos. And we were seeing against 3 NPCs, but I have to assume if you're like buddied up with 4 of your friends, like that's going to be so much fun, especially if you're playing in the same room. Get them all doing the motion controls, so you're like standing on spring. It would be so rad. Speed golf looks very, very cool. We watched the presenter of the demo was playing as King Bob-omb or whatever the hell that character's name is.
Sure.
And one of their special moves was they would drop little bombs on the course. So they waited till they were on the putting green and then dropped like it had to have been 20 bombs. And then Bowser and all those other idiots were running into the bombs, blowing up, couldn't get to their ball. It was hilarious. Then we saw the campaign a little bit. That was cool. There was a boss fight, which kind of threw me for a
Wait,
loop.
really?
Yeah, it was like a giant boss. It looked like, I don't know, a Mario version of some Dark Souls boss. And they had like lightning attacks, and you were using golf to deflect the lightning attacks back at them. Then
Hold
you
on,
got
back up for a second. The
What's that?
golfing mechanics, is it the traditional like 3-click, like you have this meter and the meter starts
Yeah,
going?
yeah,
and you
yeah,
gotta-
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so you're doing that in the middle of a boss fight?
Yeah, yeah. And then
Okay.
you're like running around avoiding attacks, and then like, oh, I can deflect this one, try to hit it back at them, and you know, you hit them some amount of times. And then they got a lightning sword, which I think they can use as a golf club. I was a little unclear on that. And didn't
This sounds
see
very
beyond that.
confusing, but it sounds
Yeah.
much more interesting than I was expecting at the very least.
Yeah, when I sat down to write my preview today, I was like, I have no clue how to just explain the hour I saw, so I just like truncated it into 4 like quick hits. Like, here's, I guess, what you need to know.
And
But
you
it
ended
seems-
the preview saying like, and that's the full game.
And that's it. It's an hour long, but a lot happened. But yeah, I don't know. I can't like. I thought the game was neat. I will probably play it. I can't particularly say I'm that invested in it
Sure.
or like losing my mind over it. But I think if like you're a fan of Nintendo's quirky style of sports games that they occasionally put out, or even like something like Knockout City, which I think we'll talk about, you know, just like unique takes on sports, this feels like a natural fit for, you know, people who like that game. It seems very cool. And one last thing I want to shout out, because I thought it was very interesting, was they actually have included a glossary in this game that explains golf terms. Golf, a confusing sport full of very dumb words like birdie and par and things that I don't understand.
Birdie, they already have a birdie. Is there a picture of
Birdo.
Birdo from?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a cute little thing. You know, you get the thing in 2 or 3 hits, you get a birdo instead of a birdie.
Oh my god! Yeah,
I'm
of
making
course.
that up. I probably shouldn't say that. But there is a glossary, and I thought that was really cool for people who, for whatever reason, might be like, this is my way to get into golf. Or people who are like, I want to play a Mario game. I don't understand all this jargon. So I thought that was really cool. They showed us. It was like quick little dictionary breakdown, all that stuff.
That's fun. Are you a golf guy, Blake?
No. Do I look like a golf guy? Did I have you under that impression?
Well, hey, I don't know. Put a hat on you.
No, not really.
I'm like you though. I'm not a huge. I've been golfing like once in my life, so I don't know. Maybe if I did it more, I would enjoy it. But this sounds really cool to me. Like I'm kind of into this.
Yeah, I think it's. I am a big fan of like the 2K games. I don't play them every year, but like the NBA 2K games, I'll pick up every couple of years. But at a point, it is too damn much for me, like trying to figure all that stuff out, all the mechanics and simulations at play there. And like, there is an element of that to this in that there's a standard golf game you can play, but the majority of it is like, it's golf, but it's dumbass fun and just have a dumbass good time. And that's very appealing, I think. So
That does sound fun. I feel like actually like there's a lot of games that I did grow up playing golf. I was more so forced into it. The golf camp, the whole thing. And so I've kind of always casually played like Tiger Woods games or, you know, I don't think I've actually played the older Mario Golf games now that I think about it. But like one of my favorite like little mobile games is like Golf Battle. And actually it sounds like very similar to like the Rush mode or whatever you're talking about. So I'm excited for like another Mario sports game. I really want Super Mario Strikers, but that is
Mario
you know,
Strikers.
I think there's a lot of people like that. That's
The
a soccer
soccer/football game, depending on what country you're in.
But no, I mean, I'm very curious to hear more about that. The rush mode. Typically, I normally just stay with like, I'm boring. I just play like the main mode. But that just sounds really, really fun, honestly.
Well, Alex, read my preview on GameInformer.com.
I will.
That's
Tomorrow, though. It's not out yet.
Not today. Okay.
But yeah, that's Mario Golf Super Rush. It comes out just in a few weeks, I believe. What, June 25th? If my notes.
Yeah. June 25th. Yeah.
Soon.
So stay tuned for more. We'll have hopefully a review or something in the coming weeks. Cool. You been playing anything else, Blake, or is that most of your time spent on Mario?
That Fortnite, that dumb game.
Dumb game. You hear that, Gene?
Yeah, well, the season's ending, you know.
Time on it.
I've been playing so much Fortnite because I'm a huge Warzone fan, but all my friends play Fortnite. So if I want to like hang out with, you know, friend of the show, Jacob Geller and Mitch Goldstein, like I got to play Fortnite and I just don't like it. I don't want to play it, but we're getting dubs. And that's all that matters in the grand scheme of things. We played with Bijan, who I think used to work at The Verge last night. Not, he didn't work at The Verge last night. We played with him last night. He used to work at The Verge. And he's great. We got like 3 dubs in a row, and that felt good. Good serotonin hit, but not a fan of that game and what they're doing with that thing.
Are you paying attention to the Batman stuff?
No, I don't like mess with any of that.
Issue 4 just dropped 2 days ago. I haven't read it yet. So
Yeah,
spoilers.
here's the thing. haven't played Fortnite in years, and I'm not like a huge fan of it either. Not because I think it's a bad game; it's just not my type of game. But they've been releasing these Batman comics where Batman's stuck inside Fortnite, and they're like surprisingly good. Like it's really. Have you been reading them? It sounds like, Gene.
Yeah, I have been reading them. You get really great Batman and Catwoman moments that we haven't seen in years. And if you are the kind of reader who really enjoys seeing Batman win, which he does all the time, then
That's basically a superpower.
yeah, and then that's what happens when you put Batman in a universe where every other character is there. He's gonna win. So.
Yeah, it's basically Batman has this amnesia where every like 20 minutes he loses his memory, and so he's like trying to like leave clues for himself to solve the puzzle. It's like, why am I trapped in this world? It's
it is the
Sounds so
most we've
goofy.
seen of like the reality of what it's like to live in Fortnite, which is basically you lose all identity of yourself, except for your emotions and and like the like your gut feeling or whatever. But Batman has no idea how to talk. He doesn't know who he's Bruce Wayne. He doesn't know who Catwoman is, but he knows that he's had a sexual attraction to Catwoman before, and he knows that he wants to kick everyone else's
there's
ass.
something moving in my bowels when I look at it.
So
in my bowels, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
wrong location, I think, but
Is that not love?
yeah, that is love.
Every time I look at Chili, I feel this love attraction.
I'm being reductive about Fortnite. I understand that. I don't get into like I don't get into like the lore of it. You know, I just use the stock skins and I skip all the cutscenes. But what I do think that game does so well is just like level the playing field. And like, there's obviously a high skill ceiling in Fortnite. Like, if you run against someone who's doing all the building stuff, game over. They're too good. But like compared to something, especially like Warzone, which is what I mainly play. Like just being able to drop into a battle royale and have that and not feel like I'm risking, at some point someone 100 meters away is just going to snipe me and it's going to be done. Like being able to actually play, reliably get wins and be able to have that kind of social experience with my friends that isn't also I'm playing this very hardcore, very frustrating game is actually very appealing. I don't care for the game too much. I'd rather play something else, but I think it's good at what it's selling itself as, obviously, because it rules the damn world. But that's all I've been playing.
I think my friends have a hard time getting into it because they just don't like the fact that like good players immediately gentrify the area in front of you, basically, to win. That's what happens. It's just immediate gentrification to win. So
one thing I do want to shout out, I'm sorry, I know I'm running long, is the destruction in that game, which is relatively simple compared to something like Red Faction or whatever. But Jacob Geller and me one time dropped into the big thing where they make the Chug Jug. They got the kegs of Chug Jug. It's a giant factory.
Slurp factory.
We leveled that off the building or off the level. And that's absurd that you can just do that in an online video game with 100 other players. You can completely just like alter the level geometry to remove a massive structure.
There's fire physics now with the Unreal. So like the fire spreads on grass and trees and it gets burnt. And it's like, what is this Far Cry 2 crap,
Such a clutch move is using the flame bow and just shooting it across the map at someone and then burning their surrounding areas and getting damage that way. Like that stuff is very impressive. And
You're saying you don't like this game.
I don't.
I feel like maybe some part of it does, though.
I mean, I can appreciate something cool in a game. You give me any game and I can like completely knock a whole building down. That's very cool and unique and interesting,
All right. Hey, are you listening, Nintendo, with this Mario Golf thing? I think you know what the next move is.
Mario
Do you
Royale.
think Nintendo listens?
To this podcast? Oh, yeah. They never miss an episode.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah. Of course they do. Hey, Elise, how's it going?
Hey, good.
What have you been up to? What have you been playing recently?
Man, well, I've been playing a lot of Redacted, which I can't talk about.
Oh, I've also
never
been playing
heard of that
Redacted.
game.
Yeah, it's good. You should check it out. Yeah. I think they're going to announce some DLC at E3 for sure. I've been playing 4 different things. I guess I've been playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm finishing up Mass Effect 2 right now, heading towards the suicide mission soon. I've been playing Dead by Daylight. Phasmophobia. Those are my two kind of like go-to games. And I finished Resident Evil Village a couple weeks ago. So
Oh, what did you think about Resident Evil Village?
I liked it a lot. I think that the comparisons to Resident Evil 4 are very apt, in the sense that like it's a lot more action-packed than Resident Evil 7 was, which I think they do the pacing pretty well. I did not enjoy the boss fights, is probably like my biggest criticism was it just felt like I just had to like, it was like filling a sponge with bullets, basically.
Yeah.
But I think the strongest section, and I don't know if we want to go into spoilers too much here.
I think we actually have a spoiler cast up, so if people want
Okay.
to listen to us talk about this, all the spoilers in the game, they can go check that out. Spoiled.
Did you like the scary part?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it like vaguely. There's that one specific section that strips you of your weapons, and is probably my favorite, Resident Evil moment in a while. So
That was the part I thought that you would like because it has all those dolls too, and there's one clown doll in it.
yeah,
And at least
is there?
clown
I didn't
dolls?
even notice that.
There's a single clown doll
Okay.
in the whole house, and I was like, oh, at least we'll like this one. So,
I do.
It's like looking in a mirror.
Wow.
Sorry,
okay
that was
Damn.
way more insulting than I meant it to be.
Damn.
Unbelievable, Ben.
Yeah, for those that don't know,
Why don't you work for us anymore?
I had a clown doll on my desk at Game Informer and at the Washington Post.
But did you spend money on that? Like, why did you have that?
He cost £3 I believe. I bought him from a secondhand store in Britain when I was like 22 or 21. My best friend dared me, so she was like, that thing looks terrifying. I dare you to buy it. The cashier was like, what are you doing? We bought him.
This thing is cursed. Don't do
He's
it.
my son now. That's the story.
That's awesome.
sorry, Elise,
yeah.
I didn't mean to bring up Elise Favis lore.
No, I mean, like, longtime Game Informer fans will probably know. So,
I remember JV making fun of you for that thing.
I mean, he makes fun of me for absolutely everything, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Resident Evil's a great game. Gene, have you played it?
Yeah, I reviewed it. I absolutely adored it. And I did a Resident Evil ranking on WashingtonPost.com if you want to check it out.
Nice.
That I kind of regret because I placed Resident Evil 7 over Village. And now that we're like
Really?
a month over, I'm like, I think I like Village definitely better. 7 had a cooler story, I guess, because it just kind of was just smaller.
Yeah.
And it has more interesting, like more intimate characters. But Village was just so paced so well that it's hard not to think of it as just a better game overall.
I like Resident Evil 7 better, no doubt, in my brain. And I think that's just because like that's still like one of the most terrifying games I've played. And I also played it on like PlayStation VR like the whole way through, which was, I don't know if I can recommend it, like, but I did that.
Jeez.
It was super scary. And like,
I mean, I'm sure
think,
that's why it felt scarier to you, right?
well, sure, but like, I think also it just, I think Resident Evil 7 really nails this feeling of someone stalking you. I think like just the Baker estate of, the different family members, like just them following you around the house. And maybe that's also just because like that's a personal fear of mine of just like someone stalking me or someone like following me and I don't know.
What did JV
And I
do to you?
feel, I don't even know what to say to that. JV is a good guy. He's not stalking me.
Okay, that's good.
I
I agree with you though. They did like
They-
it was
they-
very
they-
like creepy atmosphere, and I think Resident Evil Village also had some of that. Maybe not.
That's what
quite
I was gonna
the
say,
stalkery
like,
stuff, but it was intermixed with
Lady-
like a lot more combat.
Lady Dimitrescu, like those sections, I feel like occasionally felt like Resident Evil 7, but I felt like especially the latter half of the game, the second half of the game was much more action oriented, which I didn't like as much personally.
I like the spectacle they kind of those moments invoked, but kind of like what you said, Elise, they always fell flat in like the climax. Like when I was heading towards the boss, I was like, "Oh man, this is really sick. This is awesome." And then it's like, "Oh, this is it for the boss fight." So
yeah, I feel like
you on that.
there were so many times where I'd finish a boss fight and I'm like, "Wow, that was A, easier than I thought," or like B, like that just I didn't have to think tactically or anything, and it's just kind of like, that was over a lot quicker.
Just
than
dodge and shoot, pretty much, like every boss.
Yeah,
I think
single
Resident
one was
Evil
the same
has
thing.
always had that problem where like after you beat a boss, you just kind of feel empty because you didn't really do much other than just kind of run around and shoot.
Your inventory definitely feels empty after a boss fight.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you feel spent because you have less stuff now. So
But shout out to the Duke. I loved the Duke. I don't know how you guys felt about him. He was a standout character.
Oh,
to me,
he's
and I
great.
wanted to know more about him. I wanted his backstory.
he was such a bro.
Yeah,
Bro.
he's just always there. He has your back,
I did like they kind of like mixed him into the narrative a little bit more, which is kind of interesting to have him dispense some like narrative threads to you and kind of like,
Yes.
oh, this guy's like part of the. He felt like more part of the world than other merchants sometimes do.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah,
well,
he gave this like little magical element, like a fairy tale element to it. Like he's like somehow above it all, like the Watcher, like some kind of cosmic being or something. And it was interesting to have his presence around, and also comforting too, because he would just show up in like the weirdest places, right? So
yeah, for sure. Well, Elise, you also mentioned Mass Effect, and not to jump ahead to my playlist, but I this week finished Mass Effect, the first Mass Effect in the Legendary Edition, which was a fun thing to wrap up. And now I'm kind of excited for jumping into the sequels. I mean, I played them all before, but
Yeah.
I'm also one of those maniacs who has said that I think the first Mass Effect is my favorite. So it was interesting to go back to this game that I haven't played in like a dozen years and be like, yeah, I still like it. It's definitely rougher around the edges than I remember, even with the improvements. And there were parts of me that, while I was playing, I was like, I can't wait till I get my hands on 2. So I'm really excited to go through the whole series again and see like, all right, does Mass Effect 1 still hold up as beloved as I remember it, or what do I think of the other two? So I don't know. What was your take on it, Elise?
I loved it. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan, so I knew I was going to love it. But I feel like the changes to Mass Effect 1 really help it feel like a more kind of unified experience in the trilogy. Like, it doesn't feel as jarring anymore to go from like Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 than it used to. And that's, partly because of the graphical enhancements, partly because of the gameplay enhancements. Like, even just, felt like, different guns just felt better or had more impact. And it's funny to me that, like, they kept saying that there was going to be all these changes to the Mako. And obviously there's like those two, like, the Mako is a lot like the Nomad, I think it was called, in Andromeda. Like, it feels sort of more similar to that vehicle, but it still is kind of like a pain to use the Mako, and it's still like flopping over on its side all the time.
So even like people here on staff at GI, when that came out, they're like, oh, the Mako's so much better. And in my mind, this feels like exactly how it felt back when I was playing it back in the day. Like, it doesn't feel like remarkably different.
It really doesn't. So I don't know.
I think that's because like you guys were actually good at the Mako back in the day too. Because there's a way to be good at the Mako in Mass Effect 1, the old version too. You just had to try, I guess.
Okay, get good gene. Yeah.
Well, but also there's like some worlds are way better than others, but like the really rocky mountainous ones, like those are just like, oh,
it's just
I'm
a
gonna
pain. It's
drive
just a
across
pain.
this.
I felt like I was just skipping a lot of the side stuff because I was like, well, I've done these before. So many of them are just like fetch quests or like have just very loose, narrative threads. The good stuff is on the Citadel for the side quests in Mass Effect 1. So I did those and kind of like ignored a lot of the Mako stuff because I just like, you know what, I don't have to do this. So yeah, I won't.
I saw you give the thumbs up. Are you a big proponent for Mass Effect 1?
Mass Effect 1, even after playing the Legendary Edition, I still like it the best. So
wow.
Mass Effect 2 is my favorite. Mass Effect 2 is my favorite.
And Mass Effect 2 is great. You don't hear a lot of people saying
I
3 is
like.
the best one.
No, you don't, because it's not.
It's not that great. It's still good, but yeah.
I'm curious to see how I will feel about Mass Effect 3 once I get to it, because it is the game that I've played the least in the trilogy. I've gone back to Mass Effect 1 numerous times, Mass Effect 2 a lot of times, but Mass Effect 3 I played once, I think, full way through, and that's it. So there's a lot I think I've forgotten. So I'm curious to see like how I feel about it. But yeah, it's it's good. It's good. It's interesting, but like coming back to Mass Effect after all these years as well, like playing through Mass Effect 1 fully, playing, and nearing the end of Mass Effect 2 now, my playthrough, it's interesting to like come to it with kind of a different lens, I guess, of I'm older now, or the world has changed a lot. And there are definitely moments, I think, in the narrative where I'm like, wow, this feels dated, or it's not as inclusive as it was maybe back in the day. So it's interesting to kind of keep that in mind. But I mean, like I said, I love the series, and I think generally I'm really enjoying going through it again.
Gene, I'm curious to know why you said the first one is still your favorite. Because is it just the narrative? Do you think it just does a good job setting up the narrative, or is there something more than that?
The narrative is definitely a big part of it, because I like how it has such a natural beginning, middle, and end. It's such a perfect little 3-act story. There's so much promise with the Reapers and Saren. All the RPG aspects that I missed so much in part 2 and 3. I was really sad when they removed so much of it in part 2. And I still loved part 2. I still played the hell out of it. It was still a banger of a story too. But like there was this weird little mystery and wonder that was missing in 2, because 2 was so much about like we gotta beat the bad guys now. Whereas 1, it felt like, let's really explore this universe and let's find out what these people are like. And I think that's kind of like what Andromeda. It's like a better version of what Andromeda suffered from, right? Andromeda like barely introduced any new alien species. It really felt like it's more the same. Whereas it's hard to repeat what Mass Effect 1, what felt new in Mass Effect 1.
I don't think you can repeat that, right?
Yeah.
Like I think Mass Effect 1 really lays down the foundation of what that series becomes.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, we're gonna like I think it works so well because that story really like gives space to like learning about these different cultures and these different aliens and these different races and these different conflicts in that world. And then Mass Effect 2 is like, okay, now that you know all of that, let's like zero in on certain characters and learn about those experiences through their eyes, which I think then when you get to Mass Effect 3, that actually makes you care about those initial conflicts that you learned about way back in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The other thing I always mention, you brought it up, is just like the narrative arc is pretty solid in the first game. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that Saren, you can put a face to the villain in a way that you can't with the other ones, because Saren is such an entity, and I really liked him as a character. And then the Reapers are definitely evil, but they're just this sort of like amorphous concept more than a thing that you can actually look at and talk to.
Yeah, and all we had in part 2 were the collectors, assuming direct control, and it's like, they're cool, And I know some people didn't like the Mass Effect 2 last boss, but I loved it. I loved that Contra 3 boss. So
yeah, because it would just been nice if you had like a personal history with that boss. Like if that boss had been like a character that you talked to throughout the game, I think that would have been a little bit more impactful for me. But yeah, good thoughts. Gene, anything else you want to get off your chest? Any other games you've been playing recently?
I've also been playing Redacted, so looking forward to talking about that. But I've also been playing the game of the moment, Biomutant. It is an interesting game.
What do you think
If you
about
don't
this
know,
thing?
it's published by THQ Nordic and developed by a small studio, famously only 20 people, Experimental 101. And they made a really, really ambitious open world game in which you basically pretend to be squirrels or mutants. It's post-apocalypse, of course. And it's, for anyone who's caught up on all the reviews are right. It's very much a rough game, extremely rough around every edge possible. Really,
Except that fur, that looks really soft.
the fur looks good, and the art design of the world is wonderful, and the creature design is all wonderful. Actually, like those are probably the most exemplary parts. And I think if you're attracted to that, you can probably overlook many of its faults, which include like a very poorly told narrative. It's all told within one British actor who is translating all the animal gibberish for you.
Yeah.
And they just released a PC patch yesterday where you can remove all the gibberish and all of the dialogue completely, which is
did
that
they?
helps a lot, I feel like.
yeah,
Wow,
you can remove it
okay.
all completely
Huh.
and you can just turn it into like a silent film where you just read subtitles, which I would prefer.
Yeah, that
And it's
sounds
really-
better.
Yeah, and it's a real shame that had to be because it feels like a deliberate choice. They really feel like that they believed in that narrative choice, and it just does not work at all because this guy has to like repeat every single thing, and he paraphrases it, and then the dialogue isn't even written well, so some of the characters just repeat some of the same stuff. It feels very algorithmically written, where they would just kind of repeat some of the same sentence structures over again.
I bet some of it too is just like cost efficiency, where it's like we'll just hire one voice
One
actor.
guy, yeah.
Yeah, and that like simplifies things for us. I'm sure that's part of it too, but yeah, I mean, it just didn't work.
Yeah, another thing that's good about it has a very robust crafting system. So like I'm having fun because I'm this trash panda walking around with this big berserk sword that's on fire all the time, and I have an AK that I made too. So like that sounds really cool. And it is kind of cool. But it really feels like that they bit off more than they can chew. Having this really robust crafting system and this really interesting world to live in that's not filled with a lot of interesting stuff. But then later on, you get a jetpack or you get a helicopter pack that you can fly around in. So it's like, I can be my little trash panda guts berserk guy will suddenly start flying around in a little helicopter pack around this beautiful world. And it's like, doesn't that sound fun? It actually is fun, So it's like you really wish that they had more polish. But and you can tell that they really, really believed in the product and that there's a lot of love in it. But it just some of the ideas just don't pan out. And everyone's saying that the combat feels weak. Absolutely. I think Kirk over at Fanbyte said that every time he hits something, it feels like he's slashing at a ghost. And I absolutely agree with that. There's no good audio visual feedback for the combats. When you're shooting things, it doesn't feel good. So they're hoping to go back in and patch all that stuff too. So it's nice that I hope that they budgeted for patches.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me that like especially the narration bit is being patched. I guess they must have listened to there was that weird THQ Nordic tweet, right? Not that long ago of that.
Yeah. Where it was just like, oh, well, these people are
the mixed reviews
things or whatever like that. And it's like, yeah, well, it's a mixed game, right. There's a lot of weird things about it that some people might like and some people might not like, So it's definitely a game where you have to build your own fun. I'm like in my head, I'm creating my own stories for my little raccoon berserk guy,
There's
and
definitely
I'm ignoring
some kernels of ideas there that are really solid.
Absolutely. It definitely deserves like an Assassin's Creed 2 type of like revival where like they're able to refine certain things and like improve certain things. So we'll see. But
how is it on the technical front for you?
It's sad that I have that we gotten to the point where I have to say it's no Cyberpunk, but it's definitely not Cyberpunk. It runs better, I've had no crashes. There's some audio stuff kind of comes in and out, but it's just like more rough stuff. Otherwise, it runs, and it runs well on the Xbox, which is the version I'm playing. So.
Yeah, good thoughts. I mean, Alex, are you still playing that game? I know you had started it.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to it. Especially, we did a new gameplay today episode on it like a month before it came out, and I thought it showed really well. And then once I got my hands on it, it just kind of felt a little weightless. And honestly, the story was the biggest hindrance for me getting into the game, especially the first 2 hours. They bog it down so much. Just give me the Breath of the Wild treatment. I know it's cliche to say at this point, but especially for a game like this where it is so focused on all of these different systems and traversal mechanics that you can get into, like give me my tool set, open up the world, and let me go have fun, because that's the best part of the game. Whereas they're having you do like childhood flashbacks in the first 2 hours that were
my God,
they were awful.
And
it really kind of detracted from my enjoyment of it and my eagerness to continue playing. But I think I totally agree with Eugene. Like I would love to see them get a second shot. I think honestly the world that they've set up and crafted, in my opinion, is one of the more interesting post-apocalyptic settings that we've seen in a while. Like it's colorful, it's vibrant, but there's also, there's a lot of thought put into those environments. And I really enjoyed, I was in the photo mode a lot of the time, like just like, man, this is gorgeous. Like this whole like environment and composition for this little area, like more of that, please. And less of the exposition, I guess.
Like the art, the world design reminds me of like a cross between Secret of Mana and The Last of Us,
Oh, whoa,
like,
yeah.
Like here's this big ass tree and it's beautiful and green, and also here's some office spaces and some freeways that you have to navigate because it's a post-Earth or whatever. I feel you. I haven't played in a few days because it's really easy to lose motivation in that game because you have no story. I have a really powerful weapon, so it's like I got that part, and it's like, okay, what else do I want to do now? I don't know.
It's funny. My motivation has been coming from watching the trailer and be like, oh yeah, in the trailer they showed off that cool paraglider. I want to try to find that, but I have no idea, where that is. So you're just kind of like shooting in the dark until you find like the bit.
See, the paraglider is really hard to find because you can only find it during an NPC that will only show up at random times throughout the world as you're exploring.
Okay.
Oh,
He's that big mirage hippo that you have to talk to. And then he gives you 4 choices, and then if you choose the wrong one, then you have to wait for him to pop up again to choose the glider. So definitely, all you listeners out there, and for you, Alex, choose the bottom one to get the glider right away. Get the glider right away. Yeah, you want that glider.
Yeah, but it's a shame.
Like why would you hide the glider behind a mirage hippo?
Give me that first hour. Let me glide around.
That's a bummer. All right. Well, Alex, speaking of not bummers, transition here.
No.
What else you been playing?
I have only been playing bangers, Ben, and I've been playing one game, and it's Knockout City, and that game rules. So for people who might not be aware, if you're listening, Knockout City is a 3 versus 3 arcade dodgeball game, and I think it really combines the approachability of sports games with some of the more tense, higher skill ceiling, environments you would find in like a fighting game almost. Like it's really neat. So the premise is it's just like 3v3 deathmatch essentially, and everybody spawns on opposite sides of the map. They're symmetrical maps. It's like a typical like arena multiplayer mode where there are power weapons scattered throughout the map, and you fight for those weapons, and you use those weapons to try to get the advantage. And it's first.
And all the
team to
weapons
10.
are balls. Basically.
They're all balls.
They're balls. Yeah,
but you have see, my friends and I, we call them all sorts of dumb names. So I'm trying to think of the official, like there's a sniper ball, there's multi-ball, which is like you get 3 silver balls you can throw in succession. There's a cage ball.
I love the cage ball.
The cage ball is so good. It's the best, my favorite mechanic in the game.
What does the cage ball do?
So one of the main mechanic, you are throwing these balls, but you can deflect and catch the balls like you would in real dodgeball. And if you fail to catch the ball, you get hit. And every person has 2 hits per life. But what the cage ball does is if you fail to deflect the ball, you turn into a ball yourself. And you have to roll around.
You get caged inside the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a cage ball. Like it's a cage.
You get trapped. Okay.
Spherical stage.
But somebody can run and pick you up.
That's what I love about the game is this like unpredictability that comes with that. It's like you're caged and then like the other team can pick you up and like launch you back at your own team kind of thing. So
yeah.
We talked about this last week, and like Brian Shea was like pretty excited about it, and I was like, really, this game? Like, it just feels like this kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think people obviously knew it was coming, but I don't think people had like expectations for it to be like super good.
Yeah, I guess because like no one's asking for a dodgeball game, right? And I think
I've been.
I think also like I was worried that it would just kind of be like another Rocket Arena, right?
Yeah.
Of just like kind of poorly made multiplayer that also just like never really takes off. And I think, I don't know, there's something about Knockout City, and I think what they really do well is it feels good. Like it feels good to play, like the traversal especially, like that they've got it down, you know. And if you've got that down, and the rest, I like the fact that it's like a level playing field where you don't even have a loadout or anything like that. Everything that's, modifying the world is like in the world, it's not anything to do with your character. Every character is the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's also like what makes it so fun.
Alex, I think you brought up a great point too about how it reminds me of fighting games too. That the timing that's required to catch the ball, it feels like you're parrying. It's like a parry system. So like what Elise said, it feels so good because it's very, very tight and very, very reactive. Like I just didn't expect the game to feel that good, and like once you play it, like you really enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's very unique, and I like honestly, to me it still feels like a shooter because it is a shooter. It's like it's disguised. It's a dodgeball game disguise. It's
an auto aim shooter because you have to aim the ball.
No, you don't
have to aim the ball. They made it such a smart decision where nobody has to actually aim to shoot to hit somebody. It's all auto aim and it's all timing based, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's such a fun idea too. Like family friendly.
Like reflexes.
Yeah,
a lot of it is.
Yeah, I also like the cosmetics kind of rule. I kind of like them a lot.
Yes.
Good
The
art
whole
style.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's like this. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like jazzy. It's pop. I don't know. I don't know the words. It's got a very unique identity in terms of not only its music, but it's the visuals and
Persona 5's impact, man. I swear.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm thoroughly enjoying
I'm joking, by the way, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I want to play more.
I played it and they had I think it's over now, but there was like a 10-day free play, and I ended up, just for listeners curious, I bought it with my own money. I was like, this thing rules. I want to get. There was like a cool cosmetic pack, and yeah, it's been the constant in my rotation. That and when I really hate myself, I play League of Legends, but. The rest of the time, it's Knockout City.
I'm doing that to yourself, man.
I don't know why. You'd think I'd learn.
Yeah.
Also, I was such a huge fan back when I was in my childhood of Super Dodgeball for the NES. If you guys remember that one also has super moves like sniper dodgeballs and everything, and like it was never about aiming. It was just about throwing the ball and making sure that you get reflexes. If you don't know, Super Dodgeball is an offshoot of the Kunio-kun beat 'em up games, which eventually spawned Double Dragon. So
really,
yeah. So
neat.
Super Dodgeball was great, and like Knockout City just gives me that. It's a dodgeball game. I love it. So
yeah, it's one of my favorites of the year easily, and just came out of nowhere. It's great.
Right on.
Right on. Well, cool. I think that wraps it up for a playlist. It was kind of a nice way to catch up on just a bunch of games that we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, but, get some extra thoughts on them for sure right before E3, because, the next coming weeks we'll be covering E3 and talking about new stuff. So get all these games out of your system while you can. All right. Should we take a break and come back for some emails?
Sounds good.
And welcome back, everybody. We're here to do some emails. These are emails that people send in at podcast@gameinformer.com. Send us whatever you want. Blake had to go. He hates answering questions, and I begged him to stay, but he said no. So I got up to the plate, Dan Tack.
Hey, everybody. I have stepped up to answer some of those awesome questions. Keep sending them in. You know where to hit us. Podcast@gameinformer.com. Woohoo! Yeah, let's go.
Alex, Gene, and Elise are obviously still here. Thanks, guys, for sticking around. Dan, you missed our playlist.
I did.
Was there any games you were burning to talk about?
Oh, that's pretty funny. That's good.
That's hilarious, Dan.
That's the best
you can't
segue
stop
I've ever
laughing.
heard into the Burning Crusade. Obviously, it's re-released. Essentially, this is Burning Crusade Classic for World of Warcraft. Definitely one of the most formative games of my life. I spent so much time in that game during the Burning Crusade years, especially. Those are probably my high point of World of Warcraft. I think it's the best expansion ever made for the game. Mm-hmm. Some people say it's Wrath of the Lich King, but I think it's Burning Crusade. Anyway, best dungeon in the game, still hasn't been beaten. Karazhan is part of that, and you could do it with 9 friends. That was a big deal.
Wait, it still hasn't been beaten?
Still hasn't been topped in terms of making a dungeon. It's like a haunted.
Oh, I get it.
Think of it. It's like a Disney haunted mansion style deal.
It was my first raid in WoW.
It was his first. Wow, there you go, Alex's first raid. Anyway.
Wow,
I still, in terms of design, I still think it has not been beaten to this very day. It's awesome. Burning Crusade rules. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to play through it again and start raiding again. The answer to that is obviously no, but I would like to. I at the same time though, it's more of a fond memory. At the same time, I already lived that life. I did that. I don't really have a super strong desire to be like, well, let's do it again. I don't have those years to give at this point.
Can your body hold up?
I don't think it can.
That kind of
the old days of 16-hour game sessions with Mountain Dew percolating in the back. It was quite the stereotype, but hey, it's fine. It was fun. It was good times. I met a lot of great people through World of Warcraft and through the Burning Crusade specifically that I still talk to today. In other capacities. We don't talk about WoW anymore, but a lot of friendships were forged in the fires of the Burning Crusade. Okay, right. And it's again for that social MMO aspect, which is now almost a foregone conclusion. MMOs today, they don't want you to have any toxic interactions with people, and that's good. But we've lost something on the other side of that too, where you don't actually meet anybody. You may as well be playing with a bot in a lot of situations. So there's a whole conversation there. I'm not going to get into all that today. We got questions to answer.
That's right. Well, just to highlight too, I believe we did a stream of Burning Crusade. If people want to watch that, check out the archive.
If you want to watch me and Jesse Vitelli from Prima Games sit at the World of Warcraft lobby for 45 minutes, that's the stream for you. Now, we did eventually get in and get some quests done, but it was a typical WoW launch.
Perfect. Cool. Well, Dan, good to have you. And obviously, Elise and Gene, thanks for being here. What kind of questions do you guys like to get? Do you have particular questions you're like, oh, I love that question?
I like questions about Dead by Daylight. Do we have any of those?
I also like questions.
First one coming in from Dan Tack. What do you guys think about Dead by Daylight?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
See?
It is a game that I play every week.
You're still playing it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I play mostly. So for those that don't know, it's like a 4 versus 1 kind of multiplayer game where one player is a killer and the 4 others are survivors. I like to play as a survivor because there's a certain camaraderie with your friends as you try to not get killed or strung up on a hook, basically, is what happens when you get captured. It's fun. It's fun. It's I don't know. I think I maybe mentioned this earlier, but one of my worst fears is being chased or being stalked. So Dead by Daylight really hits a certain, I don't know, phobia of mine.
Yeah, same.
Which makes the whole thing
it's
very
interesting that you're running headlong into that fear. You're just give me more of that thing I hate.
I do that with I love horror, right? Hereditary is one of my favorite movies. It's also one of the most disturbing things I've watched. And I don't know, there's a certain, it's weird. I don't know how to explain my affinity towards horror. It's just there's a certain adrenaline rush, I guess, that comes with it. And I'm also, I guess, kind of fascinated with being scared. And it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun when you're like all with your friends and like screaming and trying not to die. Basically, it's fun. It's chaotic.
Great. Well, this
Anyway,
first
that was sorry.
No, it was great. I loved hearing it. This first real mail comes in from Chris. Says, I was reading your recent issue of the magazine, and the game Instinction caught my eye. Why do you guys think that? You guys familiar with Instinction, by the way? It's that
Second
game.
Extinction? Is this Second Extinction? It's on Game Pass now?
I think he might be talking about Second Extinction. It's like the dinosaur game.
Yeah.
Where you like I think you're Marines or something. And you go
Dinosaur
to another planet.
L for D.
You're shooting other dinosaurs. Basically, they're the enemy. Why do you guys? This is Chris again. Why do you guys think there haven't been more realistic-looking dinosaur games? And if you were going to make one, what would the core gameplay concept be?
It would just be a new Turok game.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that all you want?
I just want a new Turok game. That's it.
Were you shooting dinosaurs?
Yeah. You should. You are Turok, the dinosaur hunter. So.
Wouldn't it be fun to flip it on its head a little bit and you're the dinosaur and you're hunting down Marines?
Dead by Dinosaur.
Honestly,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be kind of fun? Where it's like maybe you're in like the I don't know, Jurassic Park main center.
I think there
There's a
was
bunch
a
of people.
Jurassic Park game where it was like asymmetrical multiplayer and you could play as the Raptors, or maybe I'm just thinking about Alien versus Predator and I was like, oh, that would make a great Jurassic Park game.
Yeah, maybe. I remember on I think it was the Genesis, there was a Jurassic Park game where you played as the dinosaur, but that was like a side-scrolling.
Yes,
action
I
platformer,
remember
and it
that. Yeah.
wasn't very good. So, but I'm envisioning like you are the dinosaur and you're hunting down different people in this visitor center. Somebody make that game.
That's definitely a vision.
You know, there's this conversation. It spawned something. Was it Fable Legends? That was obviously didn't come out, but that was the 4 versus 1 where like one player was the dungeon master. What if like that concept where it's a 4-player co-op game and you're running through like a Jurassic Park world shooting dinos, but then there's one player on the other side who is the dungeon master and it's like, all right, I'm going to play the T-Rex now. And now they have to fight the T-Rex. I'm going to place my little velociraptors over here. And sort of like, some sort of asymmetrical. One person's playing tactical, other players are doing
that could be fun.
Asymmetrical is so hard though, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I am continually fascinated.
I'm not going to make it, Dan. Give it to somebody else.
Okay, all right.
Somebody can do it.
But
I don't know why
was
there's
also
no more dinosaur games. I don't know. Like Capcom just leaves Dino Crisis alone, you know? And it's like...
That's another good one.
I'm not a big dinosaur person.
Why not?
I don't know. Everyone loves like the Jurassic Park movies, and is it bad if I just say they're fine?
Well, that's okay because the new ones aren't about dinosaurs anymore anyway. So
yeah,
you know.
I don't know.
As a fan of like, there's like, it's not like a super horror movie, but like that first one had some pretty intense scenes. Like you didn't even like that first Jurassic Park movie?
All right. It's all right.
Ooh,
I think that was like our Star Wars.
I may have come to it late. I didn't watch it as a kid, so
Yeah.
there's a nostalgic factor there that I'm missing.
I think so.
I wonder if there's like some kind of thinking where it's like, oh, there's just too many dinosaur games or dinosaurs are played out, and it's like not really though. Like, you know,
Not really.
it's
I
like
I don't totally get the appeal, I guess.
it's like when the Assassin's Creed creators were like, there's just too many ninja games, and I'm like, where are the ninja games? Where are these amazing ninja games that you keep talking about that are scaring you off to do an Assassin's Creed ninja game? You know,
I think
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There aren't really anymore.
yeah.
I think they come in and out of favor. They're like cyclical, like, you know, vampires or zombies or pirates or Vikings. You know, we'll get to see them. I think people have gravitated toward the mythology because you get a lot more like world building with them at the same time as you get the characters and the backdrops. With dinosaurs, you got to make some crap up, right? It's like, okay, so we got these big monsters. What is motivating my T-Rex to you know? So you got
Ninja dinosaurs. That's the solution.
There it is.
They are ninjas.
Brilliant.
We realize dinosaur societies. This needs to happen. Let's make it happen.
I was gonna say I'd love somebody to make some XCOM style game because that's my go-to. Whenever somebody's like, "Hey, what kind of game you want?" How about something kind of like XCOM, where you are playing as dinosaurs?
I
But
dig it. Yeah.
You have a 99% chance to hit with your jaws and things right in front of you, and you just completely miss and stumble like XCOM style.
Are these like different dinosaur clans fighting against each other?
Yeah, because they are ninja dinosaurs. That's a good point.
This is really good. That's a $1 billion idea right there.
There are
could have
different
throwing
classes
stars.
of dinosaurs. So some are ninja dinosaurs, some are vampire.
The sniper dinosaur.
This is good.
Sniper dinosaurs.
It's like
It sounds like the sequel to Biomutant, Bio Dino. You know.
that's great.
Biodino.
I don't know what kind of dinosaur it is, but
Why
I
aren't we
swear
game developers?
the one that like spits venom, that could be the sniper dinosaur.
The Loposaurus,
I don't know if that's a joke or not, but yeah.
maybe my.
Is that a real dinosaur?
Yeah, it should be. If it's not,
Damn
it is
It's
now.
not.
I just
definitely
invented
not. It's definitely not.
It. What are you talking about? Look up spitting dinosaur in Jurassic Park and tell me what the
Spitting
name of
The
that is.
Dilophosaurus?
Oh, Dilophosaurus. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Dan got
There
it.
you go. All right.
Dilophosaurus.
Yeah, I don't know why there aren't more dinosaur games. There definitely should be.
And there will be now.
You know, there's not even a T-Rex in Tomb Raider anymore. You know, and that's just sad to me.
Yeah, wait a minute. Why did they take? Because they do supernatural stuff still.
Yeah,
in that
Tomb
game.
Raider is always supernatural. You know, it was so
Yeah.
cool to find a T-Rex in the middle of like some dungeon, and it's like, whoa, you know,
And
like you really-
T-Rexes aren't even supernatural. Like it's just weird that it's there, right?
you really felt like you entered into a lost world, and it's like, no, she just fights guys now. You know.
Ah, they should do that again. And what if the dinosaur had guns this time?
Mm-hmm.
Or like broadswords. I love this. This let's just make dinosaurs just all dinosaurs. Faction wars. That's the name of the dinosaurs. Faction war. Nobody will know what it sounds. It's amazing. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this drawn up.
Origins.
$1 million
you know?
idea.
Yeah, there. Let's
Yeah.
get some more words in there. Blood ties, origins, the beginning.
Wars, faction wars,
Warhammer.
origins, revelations.
X2.
Yeah.
X2.
Zero Dawn.
Exactly. There we go. We got it all now.
Wow, it's so good.
We're
And
going to make a dinosaur game.
You can add
All right.
chronicles at the end.
Yeah. Chronicles and Knuckles. All right. Next email, Tom H. from Illinois writes in, if you guys could have a what if game made for any franchise, what would it be? For example, what if Kratos was so grateful for Zeus allowing him to have vengeance against Ares that he became extremely loyal and fought against the gods who challenged Zeus, but he was still loyal to Zeus and his gang? Or what if Luigi grew tired of being in Mario's shadow and became his greatest rival? So, so taking a game or a franchise that already exists and putting like your own spin on it.
I
do you guys think?
have an easy one for this one. I always am thinking about the Zelda game where Ganon realizes that he's trapped in an eternal cycle of being the evil guy, and he starts to figure out a way to get out of that cycle with Link and Zelda. You know, like
Oh,
like we keep destroying each other. Like what's going on? Like maybe we don't have to keep doing this or whatever. You know, and let's fight the fates.
Yeah.
And it becomes like Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy, like where it's like let's fight the fates together.
you know what I keep saying though is Nintendo needs to make a Legend of Link, and the main character is Zelda.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I would love for that game to be where Zelda is the main character, you know, and like Link is like the side character and Ganon is the side character or something. But, you know.
But I like the idea of playing as Ganon as well.
Totally. Come on. You know.
Who wouldn't? He's a giant pig man who has magic powers.
Yes, I too would like to play as a giant pig man with cool.
Yeah.
magic
So
powers.
I'm hoping that
I'm
maybe
tired
that,
of hearing that, Dan. Every week with this.
You know, that's my big hope for Breath of the Wild too. That Ganon comes back and he's like, you know what, I'm sick of this. So
I'm sick of this.
yeah.
I'm getting too old for this. Yeah. Any other what if games? What about this? What do you guys think of this? Instead of fighting aliens, what if you fought dinosaurs in XCOM?
That could be good. Yeah.
I just
Very
thought,
original.
Why
What
not?
if they just brought back Splinter Cell? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, well, that too.
That'd be
Wow,
wild.
that's a spin. That's a
What
spin.
if
Yeah.
Splinter Cell
they just made
exists?
another Splinter Cell game? Pain.
I want a Dark Souls Silent Hill game. All right, there we go.
Mm,
The best of both worlds.
Yeah.
that would be terrifying.
Yeah,
That would be really terrifying.
yeah, that's
I would
So
hate
is
that
it-
so much.
Is it branded Silent Hill? And it's just in
yeah.
style
Let's
of Dark
do
Souls?
Silent Hill branding, but we'll bring in From Software to make monsters and do the combat. But it's a
I like
Silent Hill
that.
game.
Yeah, I like that. Like that's something that intrigued me about the Surge and the Surge 2. Like trying to bring that Dark Souls type of flavor to like some other kind of environment, and it didn't really work for me. But like, I would love like a modern Dark Souls in like a suburb, a foggy suburb.
Yep. There we
Yeah.
go. Exactly. Get the radio back. Well,
Mhm.
vintage Silent Hill. Okay.
Oh my
We're not,
goodness,
we're not
with the
talking
radio.
about the newer. Yeah, exactly. We're bringing back the radio. It's going to be a big element.
Alex, going off yours with Splinter Cell here, what if Sam Fisher, expert spy that he is, fell into a vat of chemicals or something, or got cryogenically frozen somehow, and
Okay.
he woke up 100 years in the future, and he's sort of a man out of time, like Captain
Deus
America.
Ex.
But he has to survive this futuristic world and do all the spy stuff.
I'd
Using
love
classic
that.
spy maneuvers.
I'd love it. Just
And
give me
new
Sam
gadgets.
back.
Yeah, bring back the splits too. He's like,
Bring back the
I
splits."
remember this.
I'm getting too old for this. Yeah.
That's great.
I like that idea. Honestly, anything that's Splinter Cell, you could have it go back in the past for like, or just bring back some Splinter Cell.
I just want Spies vs. Mercs. That's
Yeah,
that
the
was your thing?
core. That's the core of why I want. That's why I want Splinter Cell to come back. Give me Spies
Yeah,
vs.
yeah.
Mercenaries.
Yeah, dude, you want to talk about asymmetrical multiplayer? That was
Oh.
one of the first ones.
Yeah, it one of my favorite game modes of all time. Fantastic.
I have an idea, but it's very specific to my interests. But I would love it if like Dead by Daylight and Phasmophobia kind of combined, because one thing that I find boring and frustrating in Phasmophobia is when you die, like there's really nothing for you to do outside of wait or throw objects at like your teammates that are still playing. So what if you joined forces with the ghost, like in DBD when you're a killer, so like you can actually like mess with your friends more and like maybe even try to kill them. So that's what I want. See, Phasmophobia is like already one of my favorite games, but that would just like shoot it to the top of the list.
That'd be awesome
you
because
still
I always get like
playing?
sacrificed.
Yeah.
I am still playing. I just played last night.
That's
So
wild.
yeah.
Anything that lets you keep playing a game after you die is pretty good in my book.
Yeah. It's hard, right? It's a hard thing to make interesting,
Yeah.
you know?
For sure. All right. Should we move on? Do one
Let's
more
do
email
it.
here. Attack Corgi writes in, and I think this is interesting. I'm especially glad that you guys are here, Elise and Gene, for this one. Attack Corgi writes in and says, I work in architecture, and there are skills that you actually need to do well, like multitasking for architecture. But then there are skills that people think they need that to be a good architect, but you don't actually need, like being able to draw well. He says, apparently you don't need to draw well to be an architect. Go figure. I guess they have those rulers, right? All you have to do is be able to follow a ruler.
You make it
I don't know.
sound so
Everything
easy.
I know about architecture, I learned from
I could
Heavy
be
Rain.
an architect.
So,
There you go.
Heavy Rain. I just shake my DualShock and then I made a whole building. So
Yeah. What are they getting paid the big bucks for? I got a ruler right here. Come on.
I've played The Sims.
I played
anyway,
Fortnite.
Attack Corgi's question is, so I turn this to the panel. What are the skills that you need to be good at your job versus what are the skills that people think you need to be good at your job? And have those skills evolved over time?
I think.
I mean,
one thing-
obviously.
Oh, go
go.
ahead, Elise. Go ahead, Elise.
Okay. All right. Well, I was
I
gonna
don't know
say,
what I was
like,
gonna say, so
obviously,
go for
the
it.
first thing that comes to mind is like everyone thinks you have to be really good at playing games or whatever. Like, you don't. I think that's such a kind of misconception. Like, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to know a lot about like culture in games. But I you don't have the time to like become a pro or anything, you know, like you don't have the time to like really like massage those skills when it comes to video games. Just like that's just not what this job is. It's about thinking critically and, you know, paying attention to culture and trends and thinking critically about those. So it's really much more about like being in the conversation or keeping a notepad ready or whatever when you're playing a game and just being like, oh yeah, that's a cool thought. How can I expand on that? So that's one thing. And I think now that I'm a features editor, something that even I didn't even really take into consideration enough is like just how organized you have to be for the job that I'm doing. Is like, it's not just that I'm spinning a lot of plates, it's keeping track of a lot of different things. It's like keeping track of the freelance budget, keeping track of just who I'm working with and where they are, and not even my own deadlines anymore, other people's deadlines. So there's just a lot of staying organized and making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, including yourself in a way. But yeah, I think also I'm in a position now where a lot of my schedule is up to me. So I have more freedom than I ever had. But that also means like to keep track of stuff and to keep on top of things is like, you gotta be organized.
That's a good one. I agree with that one for sure. I've been trying to figure this out. I mean, part of me thinks, and this is going to sound like a jerk, but like people think you have to be a good writer. I almost want to say like maybe you don't, because there's a lot of people out there who aren't good writers who still seem to be making it work. But I think it does help to be a good writer. I think more so like the skill is helpful is being a good like storyteller. And I don't think people think about that a lot, but a good article, even if it's like a news article, you're sort of telling a story and keeping people engaged. So if you know how to construct a narrative and have a good flow, that's like basically storytelling. So I think being a good storyteller is actually almost more important than being able to string a sentence together. Right, Elise? Isn't that what editors are for? I don't want to oversell it. You need to like understand you need verbs and predicates, but
sure. I feel like being able to put together a good story, like what you're saying, you're right. Like a news story has like a beginning, a middle, and an end. But to be able to do that, you do have to have that foundation of like knowing how to write. And you are also correct in that there are people in this industry who are not good writers and are making it work, I suppose. But like, I wouldn't recommend it. I think what I would say is like, you don't have to study journalism, you know, you don't have to be an English major or study journalism to do this well. There's a lot of things that you will learn in games journalism just by doing it and writing. For
sure. And the period goes in the middle of the sentence, is that right?
You got it.
The exact middle. Tack, did you have any thoughts?
Oh man, all the stuff that Elise said is 100% true. I think a lot of the times from a public perception standpoint, it always turns into, you know, what do you do for a living? Oh, you just play video games. I mean, which is the most hilarious thing ever, right? Because there's just so many different things. You know, we talk about spinning plates. On any given day, you're juggling a multitude of projects that, you know, aren't going to line up with each other with deadlines. Especially, we still have print in here as a beast, right? That's a rarity. So we got to juggle that one and those deadlines and that lead time with all kinds of other projects that we have going on for the current, you know, the current meta of online and now streaming and video and all this fun stuff. These all come together, and there's like no point where nothing's getting worked on. And like, you know, reviews on top of that. Like if you've got 2 heavy reviews and you got interviews and previews and all this other stuff going on at the same time, it can really, really get you. And then of course, we also, you know, are editors here as well. So all that stuff that goes into the book, it's getting looked at, you know, by multiple eyes, multiple people. And, you know, that's just the beginning. And also cats.
Hey, Jack.
My cat.
Jack
anyway.
Jean's cat.
Yeah, I could go on for hours. But yeah, I think it's always just funny how a common public perception is that, you know, we just sit around and play games all day, which is very far from the truth.
It's absolutely far from the truth. I don't even play games during the day, you know, because I just
don't have time.
Yeah. I think one thing that's that didn't surprise me, but one thing that I've been trying to own in on is Elise and I were talking earlier about how it's just the two of us, so we had to pick and choose how we're going to spend our time. So it's like I have to like decide whether a game is worth, like a new game is worth keeping up on. Like for example, Outriders. Outriders came out like a month or two ago. I forget exactly how long, but it's like, is this a new live service? Does this game have life? Is there going to be a huge community? Like what kind of stories could I find here? Maybe not. Do I move on? Like those are decisions that I have to kind of make too for myself. So
Yeah, those are good points. Alex, I know you're a mostly video guy, but
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts from the video perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like actual video stuff, and it's weird. Like COVID definitely makes it more difficult. Like once we're back in the office, like there's obvious skills like being able to like work a camera and stuff. That's a little different when we're all work from home. I think like a big skill to have, like especially when you are trying to like produce something, and there are for instance, right now we have a podcast. There's 5 of us, and we all have different cameras and audio setups, and today it was fine. Like we just turned on the podcast and it was great. But other times, you have to kind of be able to coach people through remotely on how to, if their mic isn't sounding right, or all sorts of things can happen. So I think being able to problem solve and try to almost play customer support a little bit in these remote productions is pretty key. And also just making people, whether it's remote or in person, you got to be able to make people feel comfortable on camera, because sometimes you are working with people who aren't used to having a camera on, and there's little tricks that you can do to try to kind of break down some of those walls. But yeah, it's just a lot of little things. And then when you get to production, it's you have to do graphic design for your thumbnails, you have to do the video editing, you have to write words for your shells, like it's a lot more than just sitting in Premiere and clicking buttons, but it's fun.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for answering some emails, guys. Really appreciate it. If you out there listening want to send us a question, game to play, we haven't had any good games in a while, please send those in. Please send them to podcast@GameInformer.com. We love to get all the emails. That brings us to the next segment of the show, a segment we like to call Get Wrecked, if you're ready for that, where we recommend some stuff to check out, because podcast doesn't end here. Well, technically the podcast ends here. Technically, it kind of does.
It lives on in our hearts, though.
It lives on in our hearts, and also there's plenty of great video game content out there to consume, such as I wanted to highlight, we're finishing off our Psychonauts 2 coverage, so I want to recommend check out the hub while we finish that up. Yeah, I know, Elise, you were a big Psychonauts fan, so you looking forward to 2?
Huge fan. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't checked out, I feel bad I haven't checked out any of the coverage from Game Informer on
You should check it out.
2.
Yeah, the new issue's out.
I gotta do that.
You should.
Yeah.
I think they showed us
I'm
a
a big
new...
fan of Mr. Tim Schafer.
Oh, yeah. He has so many good quotes. It was so easy to write a story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's an excellent interview. He always has been.
Yeah. Well, speaking of interviews, we have obviously the rapid fire interview that went up. We talked about last week. I was going to highlight. There's a story on Rubik's Cubes, because Tim Schafer always has Rubik's Cubes in his office. If you've ever watched a video with him, you've probably seen a Rubik's Cube in the background. And Blake wrote a story on what's up with that? What's up with the Rubik's Cube obsession? So we have an article online. It's called The Secrets Behind Tim Schafer's Rubik's Cube Collection. So check that out. It feels kind of like a Kyle Hilliard story in my mind. So Kyle, if you're out there, this one's for you. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend not a video this week, actually, because I got to write something for the site. I went and saw Game Builder Garage, got a preview of that, and kind of talked about more of the behind the scenes stuff they showed us, the nodons in that game, which are like the visual scripting program they use. It's really interesting. So I wrote up some of my impressions from that. So go check that out. Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Cool. Tack?
Well, this is my favorite segment of the show. Get wrecked. So anyway, I guess what I'd send people to is actually sort of what we wrote up about our moving to Twitch exclusivity for our live streams. There's a lot of information there in that post, and about why we made the decision to go to Twitch and all the fun stuff that we're going to be doing on there, and Are the videos still going to be on YouTube? You've got questions, we've got answers. Hit it up on the site. It's cool. Get wrecked.
Awesome. Elise, anything to recommend over at Fanbyte / if people want to follow you, how should they do that?
Sure. Well, I did an interview with Capcom about Resident Evil Village just a couple weeks ago, so they can go read that with the producer. We also just published a piece also about Resident Evil Village, but this one was with Maggie Robertson, who is the voice actress behind Lady Dimitrescu. And there's some really, the freelancer Hiron Cryer is his name, he wrote the story. There's some really great parts in there just about like the secrecy surrounding the game during the audition process of like, this is what, you know, like she responded to like a vague job interview, you know, did 2 auditions not knowing it was even for Resident Evil. And one day just like sat down, did some Googling and put the pieces together. And that was after she was cast. Just
wild.
Absolutely wild stuff. So I recommend that. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at Elise Favis.
Cool. Thanks for being on. And Gene, also thank you for being on. Anything you want to promote?
Please subscribe to the Washington Post. And you can check us out on our own YouTube channel, youtube.com/launcher. I think tomorrow we'll be just chilling and streaming some Knockout City. So just come hang out with us there. I think last week or the other week, I had a nice chat with the Sphere Hunter on YouTube. She's one of the main creators of Resident Evil within the community. So we had a lot of fun just talking about Village and breaking it down for us. So yeah, come check us out. And you can follow me on Gene Park at your favorite social media network.
It was also a great stream with
oh, that's right. And we had Elise
the Mass Effect stream.
And Jennifer Hale.
Hale and
oh, cool.
And I'm forgetting her name now, but Allie who does the voice.
Alice or Allie, yeah, Liara's voice actress.
Liara Tassoni's voice actress
came in.
It was a crazy thing. She like Jennifer Hale was just like right before the interview started. She was like, "What if I text Allie and see if she's around?" And we're like, "Yes, please do that." And Allie was like with her kids at a soccer game, and she like rushed home and then like popped in the stream. Wow. It was insane. It was cool.
Wow, that's fun. Yeah, check that out. I'll have to check that out. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks again for being on the show, guys. Really appreciate it. Come by anytime you want. And thank you out there for watching or listening to this episode of the show. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe to the magazine. And come back next week where we'll have more for you. Until then, game on, everyone.